Mr. President, I have to say that you're living up to everything I thought you would.
Something this big, something this generational, something this profound could not have been done without exquisite presidential leadership.
This is one of the great privileges of my life, to stand here on the White House lawn with the President of the United States, who I love and appreciate so much.
People often ask, when did you know? Or when did you know tax reform could be achieved in America for the first time in 31 years? And my answer is always the same. November 8th, when President Trump, you were elected President of the United States.
Well, it was quite a love fest on the White House lawn on Wednesday when several Republican congressmen and senators gathered to thank and prostrate themselves before Donald Trump for their early Christmas gifts, tax cuts for big corporations and the super rich, including some of them. Finally, it seems that despite the numerous naughty statements that some of those prominent Republicans have made about Trump in the past, they all wound up on his nice list. Or perhaps the profuse, obsequious, rapturous, bow down on your belly praise was just one way to make sure that Trumpy Claus doesn't put coal in their stockings in 2018. Joining me now is Tim O'Brien, MSNBC political contributor and author of Trump Nation, The Art of Being the Donald. So as somebody who is a biographer of Donald Trump, what did you make of that?
Well, it's another chapter in the cult of personality that is the Trump White House. And it's also, I think, an indicator of how deeply insecure he is.
Yeah.
For as different people as George W. Bush and Barack Obama were, they were two guys who were comfortable in their own skins.
Yeah.
And they didn't need people around them constantly telling them how smart they were, what they had accomplished, why it was good to have them in the world. And Trump needs it all the time. So it cuts both ways. It's both an indicator of how insecure he is,
yeah,
and also the degree to which this seeps down into his team and into the people around him, that they feel they need to peddle this kind of praise in order to court favor with him.
You know, it's interesting, the Orrin Hatch one just keeps sticking with me because it's so sort of pathetic. I mean, Orrin Hatch is the fourth in line to the presidency. He's in his 80s. He is untouchable. Donald Trump cannot touch him. He can't stop. He can't hurt him politically.
Right.
What would be the incentive for somebody of that stature to just prostrate himself before Trump that way?
I don't know the answer to that, and it disturbs me because I think Orrin Hatch is a principled conservative. He's someone who's had a long career in the Senate.
Yeah.
He's been part of bipartisan legislation.
CHIP. He was part of CHIP legislation.
Exactly. And he felt a need, I think, to kiss up to this president in an over-the-top way. And I don't know the answer to that other than perhaps somewhere inside himself he's uncomfortable with the nuts and bolts of this very poor piece of legislation they just pushed through.
Yeah, maybe, even though he's defended it. I want to let you watch Donald Trump, and who, again, you know far better than I do. I don't know him at all. This is him on the White House lawn watching these folks praise him. Just watch his body language. Oh, it's just a picture. Let's just look at his body language. Do you see it? Can we get the picture up? Oh, no, that's not it. That's not 3.
Are you thinking of the one in the cabinet?
Where he's got his arms crossed.
That's in the cabinet
That's
meeting.
in the cabinet
That's when
meeting.
Mike Pence is praising him.
Right.
And Pence is on a 2 or 3 minute extravaganza of love. And
worship.
And with Pence, you understand it. Pence wants to be president.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in the Oval Office knows that if you don't praise Il Duce, you're going to probably lose your job.
Yeah.
What Trump was sitting there actually with his arms folded, glowering, while Pence fulminated.
Yeah, it's weird. Is it that he's trying to sort of affect a Mussolini-like stoicism about the praise?
No, I think it's the fact that the president is moody, and I think sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you kiss up to him, he's going to be in a bad mood.
I want to play, Omarosa Manigault is no longer in the administration, but something she said in June of 2016 in a Frontline documentary I think is still operative today and sort of explains what we're seeing. This is Omarosa.
Every critic, every detractor will have to bow down to President Trump. It's everyone who's ever doubted Donald, whoever disagreed, whoever challenged him. It is the ultimate revenge to become the most powerful man in the universe.
That why he ran for president?
And she's gone now, by the way.
Yeah,
she's gone.
She didn't last either, because
She
he's not
didn't
loyal.
last either. And I think, you know, I sort of wonder if these folks, Joy, think about history and think about being on the right side of history far down the line, or the kind of stories they may want to tell their grandchildren or their children about the lives they led, and whether or not they sold out their own values and their own principles in order to get on this sleigh ride. Because I think one of the most startling things about the Trump era is a lack of political courage, particularly within the GOP, but even in this White House. And people do not last long. You can't, it's almost like the portrait of Dorian Gray. You know, you can't maintain this public image of Donald Trump as the best forever while privately you're seeing this car crash going on.
Yeah. The other sort of interesting sort of clip, this is Roger Stone, who Donald Trump is sort of an apparatchik in the way of Roger Stone. Roger Stone sees himself as having helped create this phenomenon. This was a Netflix documentary called Get Me Roger Stone, with Stone talking about Trump.
I was like a jockey looking for a horse. You can't win the race if you don't have a horse. I interceded with the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Chamber of Commerce to arrange a lunch. The helicopter landing was as big a news as his speech. This is kind of the first time I saw the power of Trump. The public interest in Trump was palpable. It was like electric.
To what extent is Donald Trump a creation of Roger Stone, Roy Cohn, and that Nixon crowd?
Well, that's really interesting, because I think Roger Stone's actually being truthful there. I do think he saw that electricity, that effect that Trump could have on a crowd. What Trump liked about it was free advertising.
Yeah.
What's not present in that clip is that they intersected first in Roy Cohn's office in New York. Roy Cohn is a famous fixer, attorney, power broker, and Donald Trump's first mentor in Manhattan life. He's the guy that taught Trump how to navigate the hard world of Manhattan real estate and politics. And that's where he and Stone first met.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Really quick, we have to go. Do you think Donald Trump is happy? Do you think he's a happy man?
No. I do not think he's happy. I think he's got an unquenchable thirst for love that never gets filled.
Well, Tim O'Brien, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Merry
Thanks,
Christmas.
Joy. Merry Christmas.
Glowering on that dour note. Coming up, my guest will tell me who won the week. Don't go away.